Thanks for joining me for another Blunt Business on CannabisRadio.com. Really appreciate all of you joining us. If you haven't done so, if you haven't subscribed to the show yet, please do so. Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and please rate and review the show. And of course, you can find all of our programming, CannabisRadio.com. Let's get right to our guest. We have a real treat for all of you today. We have a return guest here to Cannabis Radio, who was originally on our Days in the Fuse program with Lathan Woodward back in November 2021. We want to happily welcome him back. So he is the Chief Creative Director of Jushi Holdings, but I don't want to go to some overlandish introduction for this gentleman. We're just going to get right into it. He's the Chief Creative Director of Jushi Holdings, a Grammy Award winner, Andreas Dre Neumann. Dre, thanks for being on with us again.
Thanks for having me again. Excited.
I want to ask you, we have to go to the music part because it's just, everybody must be fascinated just with what you've done with artists in music. And I'm going to say it like this, and we're still doing that today. Right now, you were just working on Queens of the Stone Age and working on the compilation for their next album, and the compilation album called Desert Sessions, a super group being developed. Now, I got to ask about when it comes to, it kind of ties into the fact of how we talk about branding and advertising and just positioning whatever it might be, whatever my content, whatever kind of talent, whatever kind of thing we're trying to promote. Quality. Mm-hmm. And I feel like with music today, I listen to a lot of new music, and I have my Spotify playlist, right? Across the board, Queens of the Stone Age, Lenny Kravitz, all these other artists you got to work with, Iggy Pop, Foo Fighters, ZZ Top, they're all on my playlists. But there's a difference. The older artists came away with quality. We were used to buying the records in the stores or buying the cassettes or CDs, where we had enough to say, okay, we're going to buy this. We're going to carry this as a physical union. And we appreciate the mastership, the time taken into it. I feel like a lot of things we see now are very disposable or just rehashes of something from before. And you think about that now, someone of a creative mind like yours, that we see a lot of that into the mainstream today. And things that might have crossed over into the mainstream, not so much.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Actually, thank you for asking that, because that's something you don't get often, that question. So first of all, the musicians I like to work with, they is mainly, and it kind of I fell into it, is mainly the rock and roll crowd, right? It's like you mentioned, it's like the Queens of the Stone Age, Foo Fighters, Arctic Monkeys, Iggy Pop, etc. And these bands or these artists, they always trying to, I think they naturally they have to come up with something very original, because of course they have their style, but they come from other bands. There's a lot of collaborations happening. So this is like a family even. So these guys inspire themselves, but they like, there's no competition, but they have to come up with something really original. And the funny thing is, you're saying like we used to take this home in the rock genre specifically. You see the return of the vinyl record. So the Grammy I won for best packaging and best photography, like in 2020, it was for Desert Sessions. This is actually for the vinyl album design and its photography. So I didn't do the design, but I did the photography. And with a very talented New York design team did the design. And the main brain behind this as well visually is always like the artist, really. In this case, Josh Homme from Queens of the Stone Age, he's like the creative force. I'm kind of honored to be called me like his visual instrument, right? They call me sometimes the camera player in the band. So I'm really part of that, very, very close of the with the musicians. And then I have the responsibility to basically kind of, and it's a big responsibility. Imagine they're working a year on the music and then they hand this to somebody like who has to actually do in like 2 weeks or 3 weeks the visual. It's in these genres I'm working with, to answer your question, I think it's more original and very, very, very organic. Then you have all the other genres, when there's great genres like jazz and that's similar, but then the short-living kind of featuring like and sampling culture in some of the genres is like, of course, that's, you can call it not original, but then they make a new original and they revitalized and older songs as well. It's funny, like I just heard like Herb Alpert, I don't know if you remember him, this was the king of the 60s, right? Taylor Swift just pushed one of his songs back to life, right?
Right. Well, think about Herb Alpert was a good example. You're talking about 4 or 5 decades constantly involved in music. I mean, it was just a song I was thinking about not so long ago for the 90s. He did a song with, and Janet Jackson was in the vocals of it, but it was a Herb Alpert album. And on top of that, so the 60s, 70s, into the 80s, into the 90s, and even now at the current day, because the thing is now you have a lot of songs that are being interpolated and brought into the mix because they had nothing else. And so the money now being made is, let's sell the libraries to some big conglomerate that's going to just buy a big publisher, take it and make us money off of it. That's right. Property, just make money, but where's the new stuff? And on top of that, the younger demographic, they only have a mainstream that is so homogenized. Like we don't have where music would go ahead and come into the forefront. Okay, we would have it wasn't called hit radio; it was called top 40, and
that's right.
40 songs. Doesn't matter what makes it onto the chart, but if it gets up there, it gets into the ether, it crosses over to the mainstream, and then you get the entrance, that gateway into new music, the one single that comes out from a Queens of the Stone Age, but that's to draw you into the album. Same thing with Lenny Kravitz, same thing with all of those. You go to the albums and you get the full breadth of the entire scope of the group or the artist. That is taken away. And why do you feel like that kind of mass consumer type of feel for albums or for real tangible, well thought out projects? It doesn't happen as much, everybody. A way where we're just so we have such a short attention span as younger audience coming out there.
That's right. It's the hunting of the streams, right? So when you have now you have all this which is the great thing as well. Like Spotify and all these platforms, Tidal, they have their advantage as well, but they're very the big artists make lots of money. The middle class doesn't make any money anymore, and the small ones don't make money at all. So they're hunting, all of these guys hunting for the streams, and this is pushing constantly out singles, but most of the time they have nothing to do with the last single because they're just trying another one. In contrary, again, just want to say that if you haven't listened to it, the Queens of the Stone Age album, the new one, In Times New Roman, I think, is probably their best album. There's lots of people would argue with me, but it's came out of COVID. It came out of Josh Homme's all personal cleanse of getting through his divorce and being very clear on this album, and he created something. It's an album. When you listen to it, it's really an album. Like you just said, no album, but this is an album. You have to listen to every song. It's a whole storytelling, and it's a visually and musically an album. And that we're missing. You're absolutely right. That we're missing those short-lived attempts to getting views. It's called getting views, even, right? So this is what we're losing. But then again, the world moves on, right? And there's different concepts, and we don't appreciate it. We don't like it so much, but lots of people, they don't even know it different, right?
I hamper on this. I have a media podcast that they call the Broadcasters Podcast, and I hamper on the fact and I like to call them tastemakers. The people that will always introduce us to new music and give us a chance to learn about it. I mean, we had, so with all these Spotify's, Apple Musics, and Pandora's of the world, we don't have any tastemakers. And it's not an algorithm that's going to do that for us. But I loved when we were introduced to new artists and said, okay, if a radio disc jockey at some progressive station said, you know what, we're going to get you, we're going to tap you into somebody that's new. How many times do we have a radio station they would introduce an artist, and the artist would all of a sudden break free and okay, in Los Angeles, all these artists we're talking about here, K-Rock was a great station for that. And they constantly broke new artists, and they would go ahead and go across the country, around the world. And there's something to be said about artists like Queens of the Stone Age and others, where they're putting out albums still. They're still on tour. They're the ones that can go on tour and still command thousands upon thousands wherever they are, in the theater and whatnot. There's still a following for them, a loyal following. So let's tie it into what Jushi does. Let's tie it into what brands are out there.
Super interesting, because this is so that's most of the time people get confused that I can do this and do that, or want to do this and that. So So I was always, for me, and I found this out only later, really, because I tend to fall into things. My background is really advertising, right? Like I did this for a long time, real brutal advertising. As a film director and producer with my own companies, always merging some shape or form with advertising agencies. So I have this solid advertising base, right? So bringing that to music was interesting for people like Josh Homme and so on, because they don't get these guys normally in the music business, because normally the visualists in the music business are like, okay, there's the friend, yes, the actors, or like the photographers, they just know somebody and then they do the photos, and the photos are only good because the access and not the art of the photo sometimes.
Right.
So anyway, coming back to Jushi, I think with cannabis is a very similar product than music. It's kind of like, it's an emotion. It's always different. Everybody feels it different. And you kind of, you cannot compare it. It's like art nearly, right? It's like if you smoke certain strains, you have this feeling, and that feeling you only have because I've been mentally in a certain situation. I have eaten something, I've not eaten something, I've drank something, not, and I'm in an environment which enhances this feeling. So it can never be different. It can never be the same, and it's for everybody different. So same like music, music has no canvas. It's just a situation, it's an emotion. I listen to it. Everybody feels a difference. Some people feel it, some people don't feel it. Some people feel that. So very similar. So in terms of marketing, or I would never want to say. I only say it now for technical reasons. But I would not. My department in Jushi is called the creative department or the creative team. We have no marketing department, and I when we started it, I did this on purpose because I don't think this product should be marketed. When you say like it's a marketing campaign, we have to.
Right.
It's telling the story of this wonderful herb plant, right? And trying to give access to people and share the experience with them. And this is what I'm trying to do with our specifically our new brands. I mean, we had a long journey with Jushi. We had some. We were really starting with acquiring brands. We acquired retail chains and so on. So to create culture in these inherited properties was challenging. But now we're in the phase at the moment. We launching our own brands, and we did with Tasteology, Sachet, and now as a new brand coming out, Hijinks it's called, and that's a total artistic freedom project. It's the high-end flower brand against the market. Nobody wants to have this is the most expensive flower you could buy. It's the best of you're going back to hand-picked, hand-trimmed instead of, cannabis business is down, let's do all cheap. Why are we doing this? Is because not only because we want to give people like the opportunity to buy like the best of the best, but as well, we're a company who has been growing very, very fast. So I remember we were 2019, we were like 20 people. Now we're like 1,200 people. So how do you create culture? How do you create pride of what you do? And we did this high-end brand Hijinks now in all our grows. We're introducing this. Wow, it's not automation. It's not about automation. It's not about like the next weed factory and more efficient and cheaper and cheaper. It's artisanal. It's like the best of the best hedge. And that makes these people proud, and it creates a culture, like not only in the grows as well in the retail. People are proud of what they do. And this is the only way how we, I think, can fix our have unify now these people who put together in such a fast race, right? And you know how COVID was. It was like boom, and everybody's hiring. Now it's the opposite, right? And everything has to be cheap, and let's put an outlet store there. I was saying, not that I'm saying it's a good thing to put an outlet store, but having that new product, we're very proud, and we make everybody very proud in our places, and that creates culture in the company. And if you have good culture, that translates to the customer, and then you will have the benefits of having a great relationship with these customers. And as we know as well, these stores we always talk, we have a national campaign or whatever. These stores are their own little world. They're like little, these stores, they serve only like this 4 miles radius around them. And people have to connect with the community. They have to do good things in the community. They have to talk to the neighbors. They have to have neighbors as the clients. So you have to, if you have good culture, then they will do good business. And it's not only about cost cutting and this and that. It's like, it's very, very strategic that as well. But as well, we have the more affordable product line sachet, this affordable flower, and then we have the edibles and all that stuff you need, and wherever it's allowed and not allowed. Even chocolate, beautiful chocolate, which is organic from south of France with a great partner who grows everything sustainable. So we're trying to keep it real and do really good quality to affordable prices, but as well having that, don't forget, like having that beauty, like this really focus on something fantastic which you can buy. And that brand, you will like it because it has no rules. We introduced it. There's no Pantons, there's no fonts, there's nothing. Everybody can do whatever they want. The packaging is a Mylar bag. We have like 10 different artistic layouts, and there's no rules in the TV. They can whatever they like to put it in. And I think some of these things are very progressive, even for the real world, right? It's like this kind of, I always mention this, or there's a brand called, there's a great water brand like Liquid Death, for example. The anti-brand, right? But it's the best water, but it says murder your thirst instead of, it comes from the wells of, it does come from the wells of Austrian mountains, but you don't have the trees in the forest and the river on the packaging. You have a skull, right? But it's great water. And this is what we're trying to do, break a little bit the traditional thinking there and stuff. So we'll have a good year for creativity this year in Jushi. And that, as I said, that goes very, very hand in hand with my music experiences, and as well be bringing these together. So we will do something at some point with the Queens of the Stone Age, like their own, with hijinks, collaborations, where we just drop. You don't want to have celebrity brands or have some Justin Bieber stuff, and you have there's needs his own brand. I think if we work with celebrities or if we work with artists or music artists, we would only collaborate on the best stuff and have their own drop, like for 4 weeks and then it's over. Not like, therefore now we need a rock band with a cannabis brand. We definitely don't need that. But we need maybe some fun,
It's really the right time, right place at the right time with the right artist to work with. Right. I want to unpack a little bit off of that. So it is cultural. There's a cultural aspect across various things, that a lifestyle that cannabis brings. I love where there's a lot of companies, and Jushi is definitely is the forefront. It's very much a luxury kind of feel to it. It's very much where you see fashion or accessories, and you just see when you go down. Well, I go down Worth Avenue in Palm Beach all the time, and I see all these amazing luxury brands, and there's a lot of those are doing cannabis accessories or doing products, and just the way they put together and the look. And also to be able to create it where it is affordable. Because when you look at the Jushi store, you look at the product line, class. It's class, it's quality. It just looks, you want to buy just for the packaging alone, because you already know there's something good inside. And that's part of the thing that I think you really created on the Jushi, which doesn't require much marketing. It's just like a luxury brand. We don't need to put out billboards or, a whole lot of things about that make the message. Seeing is everything.
Absolutely. And this is like super interesting what I say. I was always, we acquired a lot of stores as well. And some of these stores have like their own marketing team. So they're like, we have no marketing team for all of our 40 stores. We have only the creative team. So we try to put out, as you say, good stuff there, and people will find it because it's all word of mouth. So of course we're not like just like going with the flow here. We do research, right? And we know the most important thing in cannabis marketing for stores is like actually seeing the property. It's like a local thing, seeing it from the street. That's number one. And as well, have great stuff in there. So you have the word of mouth going. And that's basically it. The word of mouth can go into digital, as in the Reddits and the Instagrams and the Twitters. So it's going to transcend from word of mouth into digital. Every fan I can convert. If I convert one person, then I convert like their 100 people, maybe their 100 friends and stuff. So it's all like chain reaction. But it only works when you have good product. I mean, if you could have, in my opinion, even no branding at all. Like you just have white bags, and as long as the stuff is good. If the stuff is not good, they're going to destroy you, and they're never going to come back. Like one time they come back. If it's too expensive, they go somewhere else. If it's great packaging and it's not good, they're not going to come back. If it's a celebrity with great packaging and it's not good, They buy it one time, keep the packaging, buy something else, put it in the packaging, and then have fun with the packaging.
Right.
So it's all about what's inside. And again, coming to hijinks, don't want to plug it because there's not even worth plugging it because we only sell it in some stores, right? It's not a national thing. People always, it's a national brand. Not a national brand. It's just it goes in a bunch of stores. So, and in these stores, this brand goes, it's like, it's just honest and it's totally free in terms of it's all about what's inside. And that's the most important. So I think people overestimate the as well the branding aspect of things. We long not there. It's like literally selling specifically flour. It's like selling bananas. Like if it's good banana, it's bad banana. Like you don't buy the banana because it's in a golden jar and it's not a good banana. You go to Whole Foods and like wait for the best packaging for your tomatoes, right? You just want the best tomatoes. They have to look good. They have to taste good. Preferably organic.
So let's direct people to the website, jushico.com, JUSHICO.com. A lot of different products. Go to brands. You'll find the full complement of brands, including Tasteology, Sachet, The Lab, The Bank. Of course, stores are also, you can find, they're either called Beyond Hello, Nature's Remedy, or New Leaf. And you can find them in Pennsylvania, Illinois, California, Virginia, Massachusetts, and Nevada, and Las Vegas, and others, and Ohio. So with that said, take a minute to go and close things out real quick for us about what people should go and look for when it comes to Jushi. What's really standing out that customers should really be taking a look at?
I think it's really what you said. Like this new thing is coming now. Like I think my favorite brands in Jushi to look at. And if you're in the area where there's a store, like or if at first you go to Nevada and you go to our stores in New Leaf. By the way, the Sphere of Nevada is coming. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Oh, I saw it. I've been seeing a lot of that. It's amazing.
Exactly. Yeah. We have got a store just like next to that. And that's a great store. 24 hours open, Vegas style.
Yeah.
So look out for a new brand, Hijinks. And I don't care even how you spell it. It's HIJINKS, hijinks.love. That's it. And that's the new brand. That's the new, our high-end brand. It is all the knowledge and the love our people in the growers give this brand will as well reflect down in our other strains and brands for our lower tier, like Sachet, Bank, and the Lab Escape. So we learn from that as well, how to creating the highest end stuff, and we give all the knowledge down to the lower tier strain. So I think that's look out for Hijink and its concepts, and our stores. But Beyond Hello is our most owned, because we designed the interior. The Beyond Hello, specifically Pennsylvania. Please check it out. It's there. We've got 5 of them in Philly, and then all over the state. There's one great one as well. You would not believe it. The name of the city is Pottsville. That should be the capital of cannabis in the world. At Pottsville, Pennsylvania. So,
wow, incredible. So, and for those also want to learn more about Jushi, I would also refer you back to Vern Davis's interview on Plant Profits with Jim Cacioppo, talking more on the business side as well. I would recommend you listen back to that audio as well. And for you stock aficionados, it's on the OTC markets. The ticker is JUSHF, also on the Canadian Securities Exchange under JUSH. Andreas Dre Neumann, Chief Creative Director, Jushi Holdings. Thanks for making time.
Thank you so much. Always a pleasure to be here.
Pleasure's ours. Stay tuned. We have more Blunt Business coming up after a short break.
Rolling into some sponsors, but we'll be right back with more Blunt Business.
Welcome back to Blunt Business. My next guest's drive and passion created something he believed in, pushing him to take the risk and leaving his career behind. Starting a cannabis startup with the early days of the CBD boom back as far back as 2018, and actually 2016 starting the company, and quickly working his way into intertwining CBD with sports. And here right now with me is the CEO of Pure Spectrum CBD, Daniel Huerter. Daniel, thanks for being on with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So one of the things I got to talk about first off that's gotten a lot of traction is earlier this summer, you and your company have now partnered with a Major League Baseball team. Now, you'd hope that the team would also be, with a winning product. They'll have a winning program, right? Winning franchise right now. But Kansas City Royals always been. It's been an interesting team to always follow along with, but they are legit. And the idea is now that at Kauffman Stadium, now people get to learn about Pure Spectrum CBD, and it's got a lot of press about it. So, first of all, Major League Baseball became the first professional sports league to partner with CBD companies, and the Royals are one of the first teams to do that. Talk to you about what you're able to go and do to get this connection together.
Yeah, it was a long road, took a long way to get there. And to be honest, since, like you said, we started really partnering with athletes and partnering with sports organizations, we've been the first cannabis company to partner with a major sports organization when we sponsored the CrossFit Games back in 2018. First cannabis company to partner with the U.S. Olympics when we partnered with USA Triathlon and USA Weightlifting. And, those were awesome moments for us. And I think for the industry, I think it pushes the industry a little bit further. But to me, getting the Royals deal done really dwarfs both of those things. I don't know about you, but before I got involved with him directly, I had never watched the CrossFit Games. I had never watched a USA Triathlon event or a USA Weightlifting event. But I've watched a baseball game. I've been to a baseball game, right? And I think that's probably the majority. And so it's just a different level of acceptance that we've gotten to as an industry. And when you partner with a team like the Royals, I think what it really shows people is not just that you were approved and selected by the Royals, but that you were approved and vetted by the MLB, right? Like the MLB is not going to allow you to partner with one of their teams unless they themselves vet you out too. And so it was exciting when it all was happening. And, you alluded to it. I told my dad about it. And when you tell your dad something, especially if you love and respect your father, you hope that he says something like, "Oh, I'm proud of you," and not something like, "Well, why the Royals? Why not like a winning team?"
I had a couple of winning seasons. Don't get me wrong. It's just, what? Moneyball's a real deal. Okay. It's hard for teams to go ahead and get the kind of stars that go and come to Kansas City to a smaller market. I mean, that's why Oakland is not also suffering in the same way. It's just a matter of that's where baseball is right now. When they might have a luxury tax, or a salary cap, but there's not a lot of parity as of yet.
Yeah, and partnering with the Royals made a lot of sense. I was reached out to. So what happened was the MLB went first. They opened up the category to their teams, and I don't know if I'll get in trouble for sharing my opinion here or not, but my opinion is the MLB was probably going to be the last to go. If you looked at all the leagues from an objective standpoint, you probably would have said NBA. They've kind of had the most lax of policies when it comes to cannabis and stuff. NBA is probably going to go first. And then MLB and NFL will be tied with definitely one of those two are going to be the slowest movers. And I thought MLB would have been the slowest. And I think looking back on it, you say why did they move the fastest? What might have lit a fire under them to move that quickly? And I think it was COVID, to be honest with you. I think it was the lack of revenue from, the 2020 season, 2021 season. Baseball with its 81 home games, they make the most money off of people, butts in seats, people coming into the stadium. And so they lost probably a large amount of revenue, and they probably looked at new categories and saw CBD as a safe product at this point, right? We've been doing it for almost a decade now and really haven't had any huge stories or adverse events or anything like that. And so I think the MLB opened up. And then once they did, we were reached out to by a lot of different teams, probably because our sports history, and a lot of teams reached out either through email or LinkedIn or friends of friends contacts. And I talked to 10 teams right out of the gate. And for me, I'm still a young entrepreneur. I'm just trying to learn, what does a MLB team look for in a partner? What are the things that make them tick? Not even really thinking that I was going to get a deal done, just wanting to learn. And the Royals just took a step above with their partnership team and of just the way they listened and understood, like, here's what I want for my company. Here's what I want for the industry. Here's the route that I've chartered to get there. And they said, okay, we hear you. Here's how we think we can partner with you to get you down that route even faster. And the other teams, it really just seemed like a money play for them. But the Royals, they really understood the mission. I mean, even just calling us the trusted wellness partner of the Kansas City Royals, right? Like, if you look at the other deal that was done in the cannabis space with MLB, it was a company called Mind. I don't know enough about the company to say one way or the other about Mind, but they became the official CBD partner of the Cubs, right? And it seems like a small difference, the official CBD partner or the trusted wellness partner. But to me, it's a very big difference. And especially when you have, sponsorships like teams do with large hospitals or organizations like that they kind of have to stick their neck out to if they're calling this hemp company their trusted wellness partner. So it was a long road, but I think what it does for the industry, I think it shows how far we've come. And I think it kind of backs the FDA into a corner of sorts of like, you guys have to regulate it now. You have to figure out a pathway. You have to figure it out. As we saw with the House Oversight Committee last week meeting on it, it's too big. Like, you can't, just squash it. Like, it's up to you guys now to figure out a regulatory pathway. And especially since you have MLB, partnering with Charlotte's Web and things like that. And so
there's a lot to be said. There's a lot of investment.
For over 10 years, Grammarly has been powered by AI technology that you trust. With one click, you and your team can easily brainstorm, rewrite, and reply with personalized suggestions. You'll be amazed at what you can do. Go to Grammarly.com/podcast to download for free.
Tras un día de lucharla, te mereces una recompensa, una Modelo, la marca de los luchadores. Así que sírvete esta dorada y refrescante lager, porque tú sabes que cuanto más grande sea la lucha, mejor sabrá la recompensa. Pusiste las horas, el esfuerzo y el trabajo duro. Tú eres un luchador y esta cerveza es para ti. Modelo, la marca de los luchadores. Todo con medida, importada por Crown Imports, Chicago, Illinois.
That goes in for advertising and marketing that brand at the level of all these other major corporate brands that they must have at Kauffman Stadium. Not to mention that because the product is there, and it's also, specific to Kansas City, that people are going to know what that product is. They're going to be able to look and access that product in a lot of different places. And, there's a familiarity with the Royals that those fans are going to go look for that product in those stores. Not to mention that you also have an area, you have a way to kind of display at Kauffman Stadium with Pure Spectrum Lodge. So you're using to provide fans with a cool sheeted place to learn about your endocannabinoid system and the benefits of CBD. So you have that. Plus, you're also sponsoring events. You had community events. There was the big Slick Celebrity Softball game back in June and Yoga Day at the K. And you had 250 fans participate in a class led by Power Life Yoga. And you put it all together. Like, this is a great deal for the fact of, some of the CBD companies, can you back this up? Can you get the trust of a sports franchise that is world renowned? Listen, Kansas City Royals, Major League Baseball, everybody's familiar with that franchise because it's been around for dozens of decades. Well, not dozens of decades, but like what?
I think so. I think it's like over 100 years now or something crazy.
So you got that established baseball club putting this out there, and people were noticing it and saying, wow, who is this company? What they're doing? You have to be legitimate. And just like you said, if the FDA has not moved their asses about getting the hemp bill implemented for 2024, look, there are companies that want to work with companies like yours. And imagine if you get the chance to go ahead and put this out there where other baseball organizations could be one to do the same thing, even if it's not Major League, if it's minor league or collegiate, whatever it might be, that CBD should be allowed to be such. And also we should have the implementations, we should have regulations put in place so that while you're doing a product like this and getting this out in such a big showcase, you have to be legitimate. You just can't be a product that just sits around and, everybody might, destigmatize that CBD might not be effective. And for those naysayers, well, the Royals think you are, and they're giving you all the ability to go ahead and promote your product. Of course, it's revenue for them, but they have to stand behind who they're bringing out there and who they're promoting in that stadium.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the other thing about the Royals that I love, and I think that it's comparable with Pure Spectrum, with who we are as a company, is you look back to that 2015 World Series, right? And like the Royals kind of captivated the world in the fact that they were able to get there and they were able to play small ball and figure it out and beat some of these huge budget teams, these big market teams. And to me, that's where I am as a company, right? I don't have the budget to do a $30 million deal with the MLB the way Charlotte's Web did. I don't have the budget to do some of these things, but we can play small ball better than some of these other companies. We are still a very tight-knit company, and so we can outperform in our customer service department. We can outcare some of these larger corporations that have millions and millions. And so I love that about like the unity between us and Pure Spectrum is where I'm at as a company is we have to play small ball, and we have to, outplay and outthink some of these larger competitors that have tens of millions sitting in a bank account right now that I'm up against and competing with.
And why not? I mean, on top of that, you've worked with a lot of good companies out there, high level clients in public sector, when it comes to colleges, when it comes to U.S. Senate on top of that. And you would have the time to go ahead and speak about the benefits of CBD for athletes when it wasn't made available. And you couldn't necessarily just have any kind of athlete endorse or try a product without risk of any kind of issues from any governing body about, what kind of substances you're putting in your body. And so CBD is much more, it's growing a lot more momentum now among sports. If it's individual or team sports, you're getting that there. And you've been doing it for 5+ years, getting in front and talking about it, starting off with partnering with the CrossFit Games back in 2018. And now moving all the way up to Major League Baseball teams, now working with you as well. So you made a lot of stride through making those partnerships happen and showing that your company now is really doing something. So Pure Spectrum CBD, let's go and talk about the product itself. And we haven't had a chance to go and bring up where you are with the product. I mean, it's one thing to be in front of everybody out there in a sports city, but now the website itself, purespectrumcbd.com. Let's talk about what people are going to learning about when it comes to your oils, your tinctures. As they go to the website, purespectrumcbd.com, tell them about what you have that's really stand out right now for
Yeah.
They're looking to go ahead and find out more.
Yeah, I think, right now, we started out as a tincture company, and I had never taken a tincture before I got into the CBD industry. I didn't really know what a tincture was. And now, they're kind of one and the same with mentioning the cannabis industry at all. Tinctures are really familiar to people, but those have been our bread and butter since the beginning. Our broad spectrum tincture, we do use a broad spectrum distillate in those, but they are THC free since we have always been with athletes. We really started with UFC fighters, and so they got regularly drug tested. And if they fail the drug test, they lose their revenue for 2 years. They can't feed their kids. And so it was really important for us to be able to provide the broadest spectrum as possible without that THC component, because we did have athletes and first responders and police officers using our product. And so that is has always been our best seller, both our 500 milligram and our 1250. But we have some solution oriented tinctures now that are really doing well. So we have a tranquil tincture for sleep that also includes a bit of CBN in there. And then we have a focus tincture called Vibrance that has a good amount of CBG in there. And those have been doing really well. And then my favorite product right now, just because it's such an entry-level product, it's a $14.99 product, and it's our mints. And it's a 10 of 30 mints, 15 milligrams for each mint. So there's 450 milligrams in that whole 10 just for $14.99. And it's a pretty crazy price point for something like that. But I love it because it gives people a chance who might not have tried CBD before, 30 chances to figure out how does it help them, right? If they carry that around in their pocket or in their purse, they get different times throughout the day or different things happen to them throughout the week, they can see, in this situation, does CBD help me? Let me try a mint and see if things get better or not. And then once they figure that out, it's like, okay, here's how CBD can help me. What happens if I start making an actual routine of it? What happens if I start taking a tincture every day? What happens if maybe I get a topical and get some of that targeted relief on whatever I'm looking for? So to me, it's just an opportunity to like really crack open the door of maybe this is real. Maybe this can help me with something.
Not to mention, I want to make a point when you go to the website to go look at the ambassadors and the level of, either performers, if it's athletic or if it's even just for acting or songwriting or just for singing, and just look at who's out there, entrepreneurs that are also, making the point that they use the product and it's a bit effective for them. So you want the personal accounts, go and look for that as well. So that's a lot you've gotten done. There's a lot of accomplishments. You're setting the bar to what other CBD companies would want to be, Daniel. So it's really great that you're able to go and put this across. And congratulations on being able to make that deal with the Kansas City Royals. I think if you just give them a little more supply, for the players, down there in the dugout and the bullpen, let's go and turn the team around, huh? I mean, you got the second half of the season to go. I mean,
hey, it's a multi-year deal, so we're just getting warmed up. We'll see what happens in 2024. I'll actually be out there tomorrow night at the game. We're doing an ag night to highlight the farmers and to really benefit them. They're doing a bobblehead giveaway, and it's the first bobblehead I've seen like this where it's the greenskeeper on a bobblehead. He's riding on his lawnmower and he's got his bobblehead. So we're sponsoring that tomorrow night. It should be a fun night out at Kauffman for Ag Night.
Fantastic. Daniel Huerter, the CEO of Pure Spectrum CBD, thanks for making time and really appreciate you taking time out to talk to us.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. It's been a blast, and hopefully we're going to do it again sometime.
Right. And thank you, listeners, for tuning in. We'll talk to you next time.